So this is a gigantic HOA battle, or should I say war. OP of this story is going to war with the HOA because they're trying to steal OP's house. My father moved into a rural area in 1980, a few years after I was born, and soon came my sister. They stayed there ever since, we grew up, etc., etc. Well, Dad died in 2012 and Mom died in December of 2018. My sister moved away in 2002 to get married and have children. Doesn't want to be involved in the affairs since I'm the oldest son, and she lives the 3/4 of the country away. Over the years, the area was developed and is now more of a suburb. Either way, I take possession of the house through the will. Affairs of the estate, etc., basic total control, nothing to worry about. Well, I get a letter in the mail in February that my parents agreed after their death to sell the house through the trust of the HOA, and then property would be up for sale. I find no such documentation, and my demand to the lawyer, which is legit licensed lawyer, is going to unanswer and provide the written documentation. I've left a few messages with the admin there, but I'm not putting any effort into it if they're not going to respond. I'm not one for sentimental value, and I'm really not attached to the house. So, if they want it, and the price is going to be dictated by me, not them. I live a couple towns away, and I have no interest in moving. My house is bigger, or even thinking about keeping it. Number 1, my dad was getting senile and might have agreed to something. Number 2, my mom is a pushover and might have agreed to something she didn't know about. Number 3, if it isn't in writing, does it mean it's useless? Number 4, what if they do come after me for the sale? Should I just ask for top dollar and or fight it, making it a non-HOA house in an ocean of HOA property? A little advice on what you would do would go a long ways. Thank you guys. What's up everybody, Mr. Reddito here. I got 3 stories for you today. The first story that I'm reading right now comes complete with an update, and things are about to get a little fuzzy at the HOA. Guys, here we go. So, after receiving a certified letter at the end of April from HOA's attorney, he basically ignored me about the verbal agreement details. I contacted my corporate attorney, who I've known for nearly 20 years, and he's got a CT bar license, so he'll help if I need it. After not hearing from their attorney for a couple more weeks, leaving calls and messages with his admin, I realized that I was not going to get what I wanted, which was literally to talk to the guy and get the HOA's documentation. So one last college try at the end of April, and nothing. I got stuff to do, and all I got now is a slab and some overgrown lawn, which, with coming of spring and the constant rains, turning into a mud pit. I live 2 towns over, and I don't have time for any of this. On May 3rd, I sent a notice to the surrounding houses that construction was to begin on a new sewage treatment plant, and to contact the HOA board for more information, knowing it would take USPS a day or 2. Brought the dozer back on a flatbed and planted it in the driveway where you could not miss it. Well, 8 a.m. on Tuesday of the next week, I got a call from the HOA representative wanting to argue with me in regards to his new plant, and so forth about property rights, ownership, etc. Not going to lie, choice words and yelling ensued, ending with, "If your damn lawyer would call me back, we wouldn't be having a discussion. Good luck with the smell." Keep in mind, nothing filed with the town. No real desire to create a sewage treatment plant, but if you want to ignore me, I'll have some fun with you. After about 45 minutes, I get a call on my cell phone from an attorney, and I swear to goodness I was talking to a hostage, not a lawyer. I told him I'll see him at my parents' address at 3 p.m. and we'll finish this deal one way or the other, and bring a laptop. Wanted to argue about not officially meeting in office, blah blah blah. So I hang up. That was on May 7th, and I knew full well why I chose to send the letter on the 3rd. That because on Wednesday, coming up, the HOA board has its monthly meeting, so I wanted it on the agenda. For about an hour, calls would come in from the attorney admin wanting to change it to his office, wanting to work it out by mail, etc. Nope. 3 p.m. sharp on site. Called my attorney, and he luckily was out of court by 11 and would come down to help. Had lunch with him and headed back to the property. Grabbed a couple of lawn chairs, folded table from my house, and my attorney brought a laptop and a printer. If you know my attorney, I've known him for decades, and he's about no bullcrap, let's get down to business type no mercy kind of guy, right from law school. Went from a corporate IP to family law and dabbles in real estate. Really good guy to have in your pocket. 2:55 rolls around and they show up. The lawyer and 2 board members. One who looks like he should move to God's waiting room, and the other a mid-50s kind of guy who's probably an orthodontist. We all make introductions and sit, and I say, this is how this is going to go. You want this property, I want to sell it. I'm tired of the games and the non-responsiveness. In the next 15 minutes, you're going to buy this property pending approval of the HOA board majority, and you can do whatever you want with this place. You'll own it free and clear. The orthodontist speaks and attempts to say, as conveyed to us by past board members that your father advised us, the property would automatically be transferred to the HOA upon your parents' death. Well, guys, he actually sounded articulate and with some authority. I like him. So I say, what documents do you have to support that? Nothing, just witnesses, Goes into a discussion on how it was told to them by the board members and that their unresponsiveness was because they were thought that they were in the clear. No reason to work with me because it's all legal. Blah, blah, blah. And they were going to get the property by some court degree shortly. I look over to my attorney and he looks back. Well, unfortunately for you, that's at least 50% true. You'll get this property, but it's not free. Brass tacks. X amount you'll be paying all closing costs, and you'll have my signature the minute you have approval. We'll facilitate the documents and then routing the wire information. The eyes of the crypt keeper and the ortho went wide, and he said, oh boy, that's a lot of money. We'll have to bring it up at the board to vote, but I'm unsure. Good is enough for me. We have some preliminary documents and an official letter to present. Looked over by my attorney and was printing the docs at the table. The lawyer says, well, it'll take about 30 days and the bank check will take as long for an entity of this type if this is approved. My attorney says the best thing I heard in a long time. Love you, Mark. We have an e-file capability with 3-day turnaround filing of the state. Towns and wire transfers take no more than 15 minutes, unless the feds are backed up. There's no title issue. No liens, no environmental or waste removal issues. If yours to enjoy as see fit. I'll be available right after the HOA meeting to file documents and Tuesday to receive the transfer. That's why he gets paid, guys. He hands over the documents, standard P and S with the amount just typed in, with our cover letter on the board. I grab the ortho's business card. Apparently, he's not an orthodontist, he's a school admin. The other guy, well, he's a retired electrician, and the attorney as well. Well, the board meeting went well. I was told by resident that it was a lot of arguing about not having documentation, wanting to actually challenge my ownership of the estate in court, and eventually the amount. Yeah, I asked for a lot, but then again, they could have countered it. It was not a good meeting, but in the end it was approved. Apparently, another lawyer who was a resident basically told them they have no chance of standing, and I could do whatever I want with it, with or without the board's approval. I don't know if the HOA lawyer was there or not. So, my lawyer dropped by at 10:15 at a Pub 99, and I subbed the documents for the final P&S, and we had a couple beers as he filed online. He said I would get a copy in a week and would file paper copies with the town. But the deal is done with the money transferred. Today, 8:15 a.m., I got a message that the HOA initiated a wire transfer. At around 8:45, got confirmation and receipts of funds. My parents bought the place in December 1980 for $28,000. It served us well, and I flipped it for nearly 27 times that. It was a good home, but you have to move on. It'll be built or turned into a park or something, but alas, it's over, it's done with. Most of it's going to my kids' college and technical school tuition. and the rest is going to my sister and her children. Okay, let's read a couple comments about this situation. The first comment says, so the OP's father told someone in the HOA they could have his property, quote, over my dead body. That was supposed to be a joke, and they took it literally. That's totally what it sounds like. Comment 2 says, well, it would be funny if that's true. Sadly, according to OP, he's going senile at the end of his life, so I can believe he was taking advantage of, assuming that they weren't just lying, especially if his will specifically left the house to the family. And like a lot of commenters says, it doesn't matter what the HOA says, without their name on the will or any documentation proving it, it's all hoopla. So guys, let me know what you thought about that story. I still have 2 stories for you. The next one is a wedding photo saga. It involves basically a bridezilla, but this time it's a groomzilla, and a photographer who's not taking any crap. Here it is. I'm not really a photographer, I'm a dog groomer. I take a lot of photos of dogs all day to put on my Facebook and Instagram. It's my hobby, if that makes sense. A cut and photo with every appointment. I very seldom shoot things other than dogs, even if I have a nice setup. A friend got married a few days ago and wanted to save some money. Asked if I'd shoot it for them. I told him it's not really my forte, but he convinced me by saying he didn't care if they were perfect or not. They were on a shoestring budget, and I agreed to shoot it for $250, which is nothing for a 10-hour event photographer. On the day of, I'm driving around following the bride as she goes from appointment to appointment before the ceremony, taking photos along the way. I shoot the ceremony itself, and during the reception, I'm shooting speeches and people mingling. I started around 11 a.m. and was due to finish at about 8 p.m. Well, around 5 p.m., food's being served, and I was told I cannot stop to eat. I need to be a photographer. In fact, they didn't save me a spot at the table. Well, I'm getting tired at this point, kind of regretting doing this for next to nothing. It's also unbelievably hot. The venue is in an old Veterans Legion, and it's like 110 degrees Fahrenheit here with no AC. I told the groom I need to take a break for 20 minutes to get something to eat and drink. There's no open bar or anything. I can't even get water, and my 2 water bottles have been empty for hours. He tells me I need to either be a photographer or leave without pay. Well, with the heat, being hungry, being generally annoyed at the circumstances, I asked if he was sure. He said yes. So I deleted all the photos I took right in front of him. Took off saying I'm not his photographer anymore. If I was to be paid $250, honestly at that point, I would have paid $250 just for a glass of ice cold water. And somewhere to sit for 5 minutes. Was I the a-hole? They went right on their honeymoon and they've been off social media, but a lot of people have been posting on their wall, asking about photos with 0 responses. Okay guys, Mr. Reddito here. So this update came out a month after the original post. Here it is. Immediately after the wedding, they went off on their honeymoon. They went to a cottage up north and did not use social media for a week. In that time, they got a lot of requests for photos on Instagram and Facebook, and I didn't reply to anyone because to me, this was done, and I didn't want the headache of dealing with the fallback. I don't know a lot of these people, it's their circle of friends, so I thought it was best they handled it. The bride contacted me when they returned and asked for my side of the story. I don't know when the groom spilled the beans, but he wasn't truthful about it. He told her I had camera problems and lost the photos myself. I told her plainly that's a lie and what happened and told her what I felt about it. I did feel guilty. It's no way to treat someone doing them a favor, though. She wasn't in the know about any of this and asked if there was any way we could possibly mend this. After a bit of talking, I've agreed to do a reshoot for some photos later on in the season. She wants some photos of just them in an outdoor shoot. Photos of the rings, some artsy-fartsy shots, and well, that's it. She offered me the original $250, and I agreed under the condition I bail at 1 word of crap or insults from either of them. As for the original photos, I offered to bring my SD card to a place that could recover them, but it's at their cost. She declined. Word did get out on my social media about some of this, and we agreed to sweep it under the rug, trying to diffuse or play down what actually happened. Of the few comments I did read, they were wholly against me because the story's twisted with the "her camera died" story of the groom spinning it around. I'm upset, but not enough to make a big deal of it. None of them even know my name. I did make two interesting connections, though. The DJ was privy to the situation. He was the person I vented to originally, and he asked if I'd shoot their band at an upcoming event. Additionally, the minister asked if I'd like to shoot some promotional images of his church and choir. Not sure if I'm cut out for anything, but pet stuff. But it's nice to have got something out of this ordeal at least. Final update. Well, a common sentiment in the previous thread was I was a doormat. And I know that. But if I can justify it just one time, this was never about the money or the people or anything. I'm experienced with photography, but I only really am in one subject, pet portraits. And I would gladly jump at any opportunity to practice and gain more experience and exposure in other areas of my niche. It's extremely validating going from volunteer work to paid work, even if the pay's small little bit, what it should have been, but even if they offered me nothing, I would have gladly accepted the opportunity just so I can practice more and try new things. Plus, it was under the assumption they didn't care they were perfect photos. I got the bride to correct a record on Facebook that there was a disagreement between her husband and I. I don't know if anyone has connected the dots yet to an article of articles they might have read, but a lot of people were upset and actually taking my side for once. The bride said we all worked it out, which did sort of happen, and we'll have some photos to post soon. For my update, I bailed on the shoot. It was meant to be later in November so they could have snowy photos, but a few nights ago, they asked if I could do it the day before yesterday. I wasn't doing anything, so I agreed. I picked out a location I thought was a nice spot, as there's lots of wineries and vineyards in our area, plus it was relatively close to me. So I meet them there under they're both prettied up and ready to go. We congregate around my car while I'm unloading my lights and gear bag, and I talk about how the shoot's going to go. I laid out the specific shots I was going to take, then where the lights would be, their poses, etc. I asked the husband if he could help me carry sandbags. He declined, saying my job is photographer, not him. Well guys, something in me just snapped. I'm so sick of this guy. I just started loading my stuff up again, got into my car despite their protest. I remarked that when they both got married a second time, don't contact me to shoot it. Rolled up my windows, locked my doors, and off I went on my merry way. The first thing I did when I got home was block everybody on social media. This relationship was already threadbare, but this just cemented them as awful people I do best to not associate with. All told, my investment in this shoot was maybe 30 minutes making a game plan on what shots and what to bring, and a 5-minute drive each way. That is if you don't count my previous wasted day. At the very least, I find solace I wasted their time and money on makeup, etc., if even a little. As well, I'm learning I'm not really cut out for this stuff. I need more experience, in particular with dealing with people, before I take on this kind of work, because I'm quickly learning I'm hating this aspect of it. Well, anyways guys, thanks for listening. Okay, so here's one of the top comments. It says, I don't think I would have had the balls to delete the photos, but I would have stopped shooting and went home and held on to those photos as hostage until they paid me my money. But good for OP for bailing that second time. Comment 2 says, well, I've had to recover photos from an SD card before, and I did it myself free. It's kinda telling that the bride did not even care to have the photos of the event. Right? Says comment 3. Even if I end up divorced, I'm keeping a copy of my wedding photos. My family and friends are in those pictures, and some of them aren't with us anymore. I'd at least be asking for photos of my grandmother and parents to be recovered. Strange that they did not want those memories. Wow. So that's pretty powerful, guys. Yeah, I can see how OP maybe shouldn't have deleted the photos, But at the same time, OP was treated horribly from the get-go, so I can't blame OP. Alright guys, the third and final story that we're going to look at today is titled, Am I the A-hole for not letting my sister see her children? I know, it sounds bad. Let me explain. I'm 28 female, obtained custody of my sister's kids. 9 male, 4 female, and 2 female, back in 2018. After she left them alone for 2 weeks to go on a, quote, trip. Yeah, a drug bender. Of course, this was a huge transition for the kids. They had to be moved schools and daycares, and of course could not see their mom anymore. Now, the kids are doing better and definitely lead happier lives. Recently, though, my sister was released from prison and wants to see the children again. She called me begging to visit them and telling me that I could give them back because she was out of prison now. I've had a talk with the 9-year-old, and he says that he doesn't want to see his mom, and that he still hates her for leaving him all alone. The girls have no memories of her, and the smallest one was only 3 months old the last time she saw her. I do feel like I could have helped them foster a better relationship with her, but I don't want to force the oldest into meeting her when he absolutely doesn't want to. Still, my close family has told me that the oldest doesn't know what he's talking about, and it's my fault the little ones don't remember their mother because I don't take them to see her when she's locked away in prison. They also told me it's my responsibility to force them to meet her, even when they didn't want to. Because that's what's best for them and they should not grow up without their bio mother. So guys, am I the a-hole? So guys, the verdict on the first post is not the a-hole. The second post that OP did came out a month after the original post, and here's the update. I wasn't expecting to make an update post because I honestly wasn't expecting there to be an update. Unfortunately, I'm wrong. I gave my oldest 2 weeks to really think about whether he wanted to talk to my sister or not. I figured that decision he made at first might have been made out of anger, so I wanted to give him time to make such an important decision. Ultimately, he decided that he did actually want to talk to her. I have to admit I was a little bit surprised, but we set up a Zoom call between them anyways. Of course, with me supervising. Right before the Zoom call, he admitted to me that he wanted to talk to her, just to see if she says sorry. Well guys, long story short, she did not say sorry. Actually, she opened the call with, "Hey, it's been so long, I guess you're ready to come home with me now." And then she noticed that I was sitting there with him and almost immediately launched into accusations about alienation. And quote, "How I have to give the kids back now or she'll call the police and say I kidnapped them." Well, my oldest was obviously disgusted. He asked if she was going to apologize to him, and she actually had the audacity, the nerve, to ask what she had to apologize for. At that point, he just shut the Zoom call off and shut the laptop. I asked him if he was okay, but he spent the rest of the afternoon in his room locked by himself. That night, he told me that he never wanted to talk to her again, ever. I told him that never's a long time, but that we weren't going to make him talk to her if he didn't want to. And we were over it, never ever going to give him back to her. He told me that never is a long time. We told him that in this case, it meant never. Well, I'm still shocked. I don't know what happened to my sister. She was my best friend as a kid. She was almost my second mother. She was sweet, caring, and nice. I just don't know how all this changed so fast. Or maybe it did not change that fast and I just never accepted or noticed. Until it was too late. I was driving 4 hours away at midnight to pick up 3 little children, one of which I didn't even know existed. Before now, I honestly never considered myself as their parent, even after I legally adopted them. More like I was just taking care of them long term. But now I realize that those kids are my kids, and they're going to be my kids for the rest of my, and hopefully their lives. Thank you for all the help, guys. I hope you have a fantastic day. Final update. My oldest is now 11, he's in the 6th grade, and recently got a shiny new bike with 7 gears and a real light on the front that he's been riding to school. He's also a Boy Scout and is swimming competitively. I'm super proud of that one. My middle is 6. She was diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder last year. It's been a bit of a transition trying to get her the help she needs, but I have to admit, it's comforting to have an actual diagnosis to go with our concerns about her. While not a big TV fan, she loves dogs, Lego creator sets, and somehow matcha green tea. Who would have thought? My youngest from the post is 4. She's generally having a good time and is the wild child of the family. Kiddo's constantly covered in scrapes and bruises from her adventures, that's how she says it, around the backyard in the neighborhood. She has a balance bike which she loves to ride with her big brother. Last week she caught the neighbor's cat and got a nice scratch from it. She didn't even cry though. And surprise, surprise, we added kiddo number 4 in October. Neither of us were expecting for me to get pregnant, but it happened anyways. My oldest is super pumped to have a little brother. Baby is, well, baby. He's just a pretty chill kid and can sleep through almost any natural disaster. That's a plus in my book. Our cat, our beloved Aristotle, passed away in late December. He was very, very old and lived a great life. He lived long enough to meet Baby, though. I hope he liked him. For those of you who saw these posts, both my little brothers, they're in college and back on campus. They came back for winter break, and we had a really good Christmas. Culinary school does wonders. For the people who ask, my sister, well, she's doing fine. She went through rehab last year and is now in therapy addressing her own issues that led to her drug addiction. She has a job and an apartment and is going to community college. She has come over for the holidays and she and my oldest go do something together at least once a month or so. The youngest 3 all see her as aunt. I know that's something I'll have to explain as they get a bit older. For the first time in a while, I feel like I have my sister back. I forgot to mention that I got married back in April. It was a pretty small ceremony, so we ended up having it at a friend's backyard. My youngest, well, she was the flower girl, and another friend of mine made cupcakes. It was everything we ever wanted and more. We're doing pretty good. My husband and my oldest are putting together a tire swing to hand in the big tree in our backyard. Baby's chewing on my shirt right now, but I don't have to care because I'm on maternity leave. It's great! I'm going a little stir-crazy in the house though, so I'm gonna try to take Baby out to watch the ducks later. Well guys, that's basically it. Thank you for the love and support you poured onto the post nearly 2 years ago. I hope you all have a wonderful, fulfilling lives full of peace, laughter, and love. Goodbye. Okay, so this comment is kind of related to the children growing up in a hostile environment. Here it is. People raised by crappy parents generally take one of 2 attitudes. The first is to accept that as a normal, and so when they become parents themselves, they also are pretty terrible at it. That's the only way they know how to treat children. But the second way is to realize that their parents were bad at parenting. They hate how they were treated and resolve not doing the same thing. They treat their kids how they wish they would have been treated. It's pretty clear which attitude OP has. Guys, I just want to ask you guys one question. Do you think the children should go back to their bio mother, even if it could possibly still be a very toxic place for them to live? And also, let's take into consideration the oldest child simply doesn't want to go back. So let me know those 2 things in the comment section. Thank you so much for joining me in these 3 stories. If you enjoyed today's video, just know, I do this every single day. You can find my other channels in the description below. And one more time, thank you. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Oh, peace!